Okay, so we are going to review how to add an inventory item to the catalog manager on Orderport. So we've logged into the Orderport system with your credentials, and this is the landing page that it takes you to, the Orderport system, and you want to go to Catalog Manager, and there it will take you to all of the merchandise that has currently been added into the system. I always like to check to make sure that we're not duplicating an item, so sometimes you have to be a little bit creative to make sure that the item doesn't already exist, so make sure that you are following standard operating procedure before you begin adding items. If you've got an item in the system that is a one-off of something that maybe has already been created, such as a mug in a new color, or a hat in a new style, or a shirt in a new style, there is a quick way for you to navigate and create that cloned item. So we're going to cover that after we go the long route, because more often than not you're going to have an item that needs to be created from scratch. So let's start there and work backwards. In order to add a new product, you're going to head up to the new product tab at the top, select. It will ask you, because you are effectively changing the database, so it wants to make sure that you want to actually create a new item. Yes, you do, and it will bring you to the creation page for an item or a product, but you'll notice that it defaults into an in-progress item, and you now have to go through and populate the style or the type of item that you're adding. You need to know the product type, and if you see here, there is a drop-down list, a collection, which would take 2 or more items and add them together, a gift card, physical inventory, reservation, or wine. A reservation allows you to actually put in time restrictions. You could use this for events or tours. Physical inventory is what I select for physical items that are on property. And then on demand would be items that are non-inventoried and not wine related. So it could be your, essentially it's a non-inventoried item. So it doesn't physically exist. It is maybe a service like shipping. It would be possibly a ticket that doesn't have a time associated with it. So we've got wine. Let's just create a new wine that we can add here. We've got now a product category that needs to be chosen. So is it a tasting fee that is needing to be created, wine by the bottle, wine by the glass? And you can go through here and kind of determine, are you dealing with retail? Are you dealing with consignment retail items? Are you dealing with a bread that is being added? You'll also notice that you can select a product category that does not match the product type. So you need to make sure that if it was actual bread that I needed to add, I would want to change it, the product type, to physical. Now the next thing you're going to want to do that is required is actually adding a title. So you would want to add cheesy cheese, and normally the POS title matches the product title. I don't normally use hidden on because that would actually suppress it in certain categories, but it's kind of a non-required option now, and you'll see why when we get to groups and subgroups. You can select color and size here, declared value for the purposes of shipping, usually only with wine. You can also put in the cost of the item. Remember that you want to add the shipping or freight to the item's cost as well. Weight, especially if you're going to put this item on e-commerce, it has to be over 1 pound in order for the system to register the weight. You can put in a low stock, which is like a notification that when the inventory gets low, you need to reorder. Most items, unless they're food, and in this case, if we're actually adding bread, we would not make it a taxable item. And touch would actually be if this item was going to be shipped. If this is going onto an e-commerce site, you can actually hit touch, and it's basically shipping and handling charges that would be assessed. Basket minimum would be you have to have bought so many of these in order to make the purchase accessible. Basket match is the exact opposite, which means that you can only buy 2 or you can only buy 12. Customer account max would actually mean that the lifetime of the customer, they can only buy X amount of this item. Adult signature, again, if this was going to be shipped and it is not wine, it would not need an adult signature. And then tax as wine. If this is bread, obviously we're not taxing as wine. You want to add your retail price, and then the next most important thing that you need to do is then activate the different classes and discounts. So you're going to want anyone that has permission to buy this item, you're going to want to activate their class and discount. Now pay attention, because you want to make sure that you are, any class that you've activated, that you're giving them the proper discount. So obviously a trade membership is not supposed to get 100% discount. They are only supposed to get a 10% discount. The only time that the auto-generated discounts actually are correct, the default amount of 30 or 20%, is when we're talking about wine. Every other time, the retail items should only be at a 10% discount. And again, refer to your standard operating procedure on that. Next, we're going to go to, you can also add coupon codes here. We don't normally utilize that, but maybe in e-commerce you'll want to. Now you need to select how you want it to appear on the point of sale and in the web store. So you can do that here and here. Make sure that it makes sense. So in this case, there is Great Harvest, so I want the bread to live there. And it's not something that I sell in the web store, so I'm not going to check that. And then status. Now I have to activate the item. You can also, again, for web purposes, you can create an item that is active or an item that is coming soon, an item that's sold out that is Wine Club exclusive, or a limited offer. So the Wine Club exclusive wine would not give them access on the e-commerce site until they've logged into their profile. Okay, and then you just hit save changes and you have added your product. Now we're going to not save this because obviously I don't actually want to create that item. But if I was to select an item, I've got more tins that have come in and succulents in tins, but maybe I want to add a different variety. So maybe it's a succulent in tin with cactus, and therefore I would actually clone the product, and all of this information is duplicated in a secondary item, and things are auto-filled. So I would want to change the title and the POS title, but obviously if this is a duplicate item or a cloned product, very similar to what I'm dealing with, all of the product type and category has already been auto-filled for you. You may need to alter the price or the cost of this particular item if the freight has changed or anything like that. Your customer class discounts are most likely correct, but it's always good to double check. And then what's really great is that your subgroups have already been selected for you, and all you have to do is mark this item as active. Now, something that I glossed over when adding an item, and you will want to know this if you're dealing with the e-commerce end of the site, is that you can add an overview and a summary overview for these products. So the best way for me to show you what that currently looks like would be to go back to the landing page of the catalog manager, and I'm going to actually show you how to search for an item in doing this. So I am looking for a bottle of wine. So I go to Our Wines, and I'm just going to hit search. And you have to hit search, you can't hit enter. On our site currently is a bottle of Muscat Canelli. So as you can see, if I go down here to overview, it shows the tasting notes and uncorked notes, and it also shows the same under the summary overview. And if you were to go onto our website, you would see that these are populated in the template of the e-commerce page. If you have any questions about adding a product or duplicating a product, make sure you touch base with the tasting room manager. They have a lot of information about whether or not an item has been used or has been in the tasting room before, so that you're not creating more work for yourself. There will be more products or more videos to come on how different ways to manage inventory and retail items. So we'll see you back here soon.